Welcome to today's show, brought to you by Ensemble Block from the box.
Hi, welcome everyone. We're here at TMEA 2023, the Texas Music Educators Association Convention. My name is Huei-Yuan Pan, and today we're sitting next to, the one and only Mr. Bill Bachman.
All right.
Yes.
And the crowd went wild. They went mild.
Yeah, hey Bill, thanks for being here. And I got to start by saying this has been wild for me because I've been watching Bill's videos for years upon years and years. We've been talking for a few months now, and getting to shoot video with Bill and getting to hang out with him this week has just been kind of this surreal moment. And we're here getting to talk something very exciting. So Bill, first off, thanks for being here and thanks for the hang.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's been first class. It's a really, really good group of guys on a good mission, doing things right. A lot of skills, a lot of tech, a lot of situational awareness with this group.
We try our best here. Yeah, don't want to be the situational.
That's a running joke. Okay.
Yeah, we'll link to the other videos that are talking about it. So what we are talking about is a very exciting project revolving around this book. And if you're any sort of a rudimental drummer or marching percussionist or a teacher that has to deal with that, and you're looking to learn how to play quads, you'll recognize this book immediately. This is a staple in the quad pedagogy world. So we're going to try to get some deep director cuts here. Bill, could you take us back to how this book came about?
Sure thing. I've always been of the idea of, if it doesn't exist, create it, or what can I offer to do to serve well? So when I was young and I was a quad player, my idea was, well, I want to be the best quad players the world has ever seen. It's like, why would I even bother if I didn't want that? Now, I would never be stupid or foolish enough to even think I've come close to that claim, but nonetheless, that's kind of what drove me, is I want to be the best there is and do everything I can. When I aged out from drum corps at Cadets and then North Texas, it's like, okay, I've done everything in the best lines I could possibly I hit the lottery twice. And it was like, okay, now I got to teach. So I'm teaching blue coats and whatnot. What can I do? What's my next option to max something out? And then I realized as I'm teaching, it's basically an oral tradition of how these things go. And so it's like, I've had a little bit of an impact. I've played in some pretty good lines.
Can you tell everyone what lines those were?
Oh, like 94 Cadets and 96 North Texas were kind of my two favorite lines I got to play in. And I thought, well, no one else is doing it. I'll do it. So I wrote a quad book. And at first, it was all just pen and paper. The first book that I did was actually just number 2 pencil and whatnot. One of my quad players at Blue Coats, where I was teaching at the time, he actually bookified it. And so it was literally scans of my handwritten beats and whatnot.
Whoa.
And so...
Dude, we got to find that.
Oh, I have it.
You have it?
In my attic. I don't have a Hall of Fame, but I have like in the attic a box.
I'm picturing a limited edition print of the handwritten version
and a T-shirt.
Yes, exactly.
But yeah, so I have that, and we had a guy who went to Kinko's and printed it, and so it started out in '97, sold off of the Blue Coat souvenir truck, and it was funny because it would sell really, really well.
Do you want a T-shirt with that? No, just the book, please.
And so it was basically, I used to say the quality of the quad break that night was directly linked to the sales of the book. But I mean, 97 and 98, those lines, the Blue Q. I came up with the Blue Q actually.
What?
Yeah.
You're the person who coined Blue Q?
Yeah, riding in a minivan back from a camp. So yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, so those were the guys, and they're doing stuff, and they're playing pretty darn well. And it's like the world was watching. It's like, ooh, quad, this is good. We like this. And so next thing you know, the book was just selling. And one thing, it was logicalpress.com. It was my own little sort of company.
Yes.
And next thing you know, Roloff was interested because it like wildfire. There was nothing else like it, nothing competing with it.
Yes.
And it came from someone who had a little bit of respect from people. Street cred, go with that. So I'm still trying to figure things out, but so that's the origins of Quadlogic, and Roloff picked it up. And so the original printing was 1997, which is, we're in year 25, which is nuts.
Yeah, that's the big one this year. It's the 25th year anniversary of Quadlogic. So, where have you seen people use this in those 25 years? People in lessons, people who are starting, teachers with their students. What does that look like that you've seen so far?
Yes. I mean, people have called it the Quad Bible, which is, my life is strange when these things happen. I've had many Quadlogic success stories where people tell me, oh yeah, I got this book, or this weekend I've had like 2 or 3 people, this is the first book I ever bought, Quadlogic, and yeah. And
one of our team members, in fact, one of our Ensemble team members.
Yeah, and so it's so many like top professionals and people who are college professors and whatnot. It's like, yeah, Quadlogic, I got it, and went all through it, and it's crazy. I never would have dreamed that it would have that sort of impact. But again, if you set out to serve people well, and you create products and you're teaching, you put others first, you try to serve them, then generally, doors open and good things happen.
So you've been serving people 25 years via this text and many other avenues as well. And with the 25th year anniversary and the advances in modern technology, can you tell us a little bit about what your vision is for the next 25 years?
Well, Quadlogic is coming to life via the cybernet. So that's where Ensemble Block comes in. So we're doing a thing, and by a thing, I mean a whole online portal of Quadlogic quad action. So one of my, like if I get hit by a bus and die tomorrow,
oh my gosh.
Probably not gonna happen.
Oh, come on.
Probably not gonna happen. But like I feel my biggest contribution, my sort of education, biggest accomplishment, whatever, opus, is drumworkout.com. That's like all my golden nuggets, it's all there. And it's full of workouts where you can learn from beginning to end, extreme hands makeover, and the results are stunning what happens to it. So that is the digital kind of version of this is how you play a drum.
Yes.
And it's gotten just incredible results, and it's been really rewarding. So now the same concept I'm going to do with quad drumming, and the Ensemble blocks you guys are extraordinarily good at what you do.
Thank you.
And so I'm going to basically have a ton of lessons, but not just lessons, but play-alongs where you actually do workouts using rounds. So the book is going to come to life. You can say, oh, look at this page, how did this, and then you'll play it. You might think like, oh, I got this, but then you play it with me, it's like, oh, wait a minute, there's a whole nother level of accountability where like, are you playing for real? And I've taught so many people, I know the mistakes, I know the wrong doors. I can make sure you're not dropping your height or tightening up on that crossover, let it bounce just like you would on, so I always coach and give tips throughout as I play.
That's actually one of the hardest things about this format. When you're making a video that someone's going to watch later, if you don't have a teacher that has the years of experience of working with students and they already know the mistake that's going to happen before it happens, and Bill is a master of this, he'll say, make sure you're not doing this. You might be doing this. It needs to look like, notice this when I'm doing it and check yourself out.
Sorry, but you're not that unique. I've seen all the mistakes before, so I know the usual suspects.
Yeah. So it's been exciting for us to watch Bill begin this process because those of you may also know that Bill is a very prolific drum set player as well, and he's had to revamp the studio a bit to prepare for this. What's that been like?
Well, I enlisted my kids and paid them to like get all my garbage out of here, get it all out of here. And then I gave them dusters. And so I basically cleaned out my whole studio.
Yeah.
And I've got it set up. And so I'm gonna get a little bit of tech help to try to max it out, make it look as good as possible. Because so far, for me, it's mainly the quality of the work that sells it. So I'm trying to up the game of just the aesthetics of it and make it look as clean and polished and fancy as possible. Because, kids these days, they're getting so tech and everything looks like you're in the NBC studio. Yeah. So and that's where you guys come in helping me get that running. Sure. So I want not only like this is top flight information, this is gonna really help you and serve you well, but it's also gonna look next level. That's what we're going for.
Yes, and it's gonna be just so easy where, the hardest part when you're making this type of content is, it's like you're making a pizza. If you don't start with good ingredients, it doesn't matter how well you make the pizza. Pizza's not going to taste good.
True.
And so you've got amazing content a wealth of experience, someone who has delivered the material 10,000 times in their own individual Bill Bachman way that you can only get here, which I'm a super fan of.
For better or for worse, you can't copy me. I don't know if you want to.
Yeah, no, it's gonna be so fun that you're gonna get to learn this, and I have to say that being able to access it at any point from your phone, your tablet, your desktop, whether you're using it in a classroom with a group of students for the first time, the way I personally, the way I think of it is like I'm as my friend Eric would describe, a fighter pilot snare drummer. And Bill has been sure to make sure to put me in my place a few times this past week in a good-natured way.
I never made it all the way up to snare, so it's my job to sort of keep them down a little bit.
so it's been good fun. But to flip that, I've always told Carl that I'm going to come back in another lifetime as a quad player.
Just expand your imagination, and you might actually
maybe someday.
arrive.
Yeah. So it'll be part of our process as we review all the footage we're watching and that's one of the beauties of my job is I get to learn so much as we're just seeing this content come through. Yep. So I can't wait to use this along with the videos.
Now, if you're on the struggle bus and the struggle bus is stuck in a rotary, can you isolate a bar and look at the notation and slow it down as you play along?
You can. If only you were able to go in there and target your practice. I'm gonna fix this part, but if it's going too fast, you could also probably slow down a little bit because this guy's gonna fly. You got to make sure you can hang.
We'll see.
He'll take it easy too because Bill's a master teacher. He knows when to do slow.
Sometimes I may play faster than the average bear.
Yeah. This guy.
I'll go that far.
That's always in the videos. He's like, okay, one time slow. He's like, okay, one time up. It's like, you're like,
No, I don't roll like that. It's like you put the frog in the water, and then it very gradually simmers up, and the next thing it's boiling. But we wouldn't do that to a frog.
Right. Never.
Because that would be wrong.
Do not do that. Bill is saying not to do.
Yeah, but the idea is there. If you're very gradual, then you work your way up.
Yeah.
I use the Matrix as an example a lot.
Okay.
So when in the movies doing this whole thing and watching bullets fly by in slow motion, that's how he perceives it because his processor is so fast. So if you start slow and really do things right, then you very gradually bump it up incrementally. I mean, that's the whole drum workout system.
I was about to say that.
By the time you're flying, your processor is so fast.
When I saw a drum workout for the first time, because I've heard Bill talk about it for years, and as we get into fatherhood and you're teaching more, you just get busier, and you also don't have as many performance opportunities to get to play with those. That's actually one of the fun parts from this past week is getting it all drummed together.
Yeah, we've had fun.
But when I first started seeing the videos, it starts very unassuming. You're like, okay, I can do this. But if you don't go through the process and if you just fast forward by minute 24, you're like, things are cooking. And then if you go through that whole process, you're sweating and you can feel it. Can you talk a little bit about that approach to getting the kids up and running or drummers in general?
For sure. When you watch a finished product, you tend to think, or I would tend to think when I was younger, it's like, oh, I could never do that. Like that group is so incredible. But you don't realize they started right here. I mean, I was a green, clueless idiot the first year I was marching like anybody else. We're all that guy when we start. And so it's a very gradual process. And the next thing you know, oh my gosh. So that's the problem with so many lessons on the internet and whatnot. Someone just sort of blazes through it casually. It's like, oh, it's just that. It's like, that's cool, but you didn't help me at all. So my idea is I want to take things slow enough where anybody can get their foot in the door, and it's so gradual that you don't realize that when you first saw that fast tempo, it's like, oh my gosh, but wait a minute, 25 minutes later, like that's how the workouts work on drum workout. 25 minutes later, it's like, oh, I just eased into that as you're working the next faster tempos technique, and you're guided along the way and coached into it. And I'm modeling stuff so you get to see it and match it. It just works.
Yeah. And I'll say this for Bill because he's too humble to say it himself. He's had success stories upon success stories of people who have gone through the programs, seen changes in their hands that they thought, that's just the way I play. I'm not going to be able to change my hands. Starting with, Bill's trademark free stroke. It all stems from there.
I didn't trademark that, but yeah.
A tenet of his approach.
One of my shticks.
Yeah. And there's a reason why Bill's able to play the way he plays. So if I'm a student, maybe I'm in middle school, I'm in high school, I'm looking to become a quad superstar. Do I just jump into Quadlogic? Do I need to fix my hands first and then go to Quadlogic? What's the pathway that you would prescribe to somebody?
Hands first. Somewhere in this book, I could find it if I looked, it says, you know, play around the drums as you do on one drum. That's one of the almost a summation of the concepts in the book. And if your hands aren't completely dialed on one drum, then please don't waste my time moving it around. So that might sound a bit brutal, but at auditions I've done for drum corps and whatnot, I've had guys that got a little bit grumpy about he didn't get to see all the stuff. I was like, I saw the stuff on drum too. So, you're welcome. So
we're saving all of us time here, man. It's fine.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, over the past few years, I've had a handful of quad players and SUV and here and there, and it's like lessons, we use a heavy hitter stock pad and we just live on one drum. Because if you become a great player on one drum, that's 90% of it. So that's where the whole drumworkout.com thing, that's going to get you as good as possible, as fast as possible. And then the last 10%, let's learn how to move it around, and here it is. So, and the arounds, the vocab in the book, it goes back to 97, and yet the fundamentals don't change. So there's nothing out of date here. It's like, it's still the same movements. You can use different combinations, of course, create your own art as you write stuff, but the fundamentals don't change, and it's just chock full of them right there.
So as someone who never had the opportunity to march quads, selfishly I'm going to ask here, if I go through this book, can I make up that final 10% that I might have missed because I didn't learn this and that?
You will probably be the best quad player the world's ever seen after about 2 weeks going through the book. Okay, I can't make that promise. I can't make that promise.
Hey, is that high pressure for me or high pressure for the book? Maybe a little bit of both. But
I've always said when I'm doing auditions and I have a bunch of guys here, if I have 4 guys and like that 5th spot's on the bubble, and this one person, they've played quads and they know all the stuff, but this other person played snare matched grip and his hands are 10% better. I'll take the 10% better hands and I'll get you moving around. So that's absolutely the priority.
Oh, amazing.
X and Y axis.
Okay.
Y is the vertical axis, how well you play. X is the horizontal, so your arms just relocate your hands. It's much easier to figure out the X, but don't even waste your time with it if the Y isn't locked in. And mentally being able to separate that, there's a whole chapter on that.
Yep, you got to read it. So, all right, well, we're getting more information on this project coming to life. Will be coming down the pipeline. If you want to get started right away, though, Bill, where can people go to find you and find more about drumworkout.com?
Yep, yeah, drumworkout.com. That's my home subscription site. It's like a whopping $20 a month. But you'll be amazed and astounded. I mean, or you could just have a lesson with me, or you could have a bunch of drum workout. And it's funny because people who take lessons with me, I say, okay, subscribe to Drum Workout. We're going to save you time and money doing this. Right. And so, yeah, that's the place to jump into the Extreme Hands Makeover, where no matter what, like drum set player, concert player, drumline guy, if you have a stick in each hand, there's a way you can either play something or you can't. It either sounds good or it doesn't. And it's universal, so that's absolutely the way to build your hands. I mean, I have world-class pros who trip on step 1. So it's, there's always something. It's like the massage therapist. So there's always that spot, and it exposes them, but that's the place to go.
Yeah, okay. And then we're going to find Bill on the social channels, official Bill Bachman, for Facebook, YouTube, and it's a little bit different, but if you want to find out more about Bill's course on this, please visit us at ensembleblock.com/Bill Bachman, and we'll get you to learn on with Quadlogic. Bill, thanks again for coming by and hanging out with us today at the booth.
It's going to be good. It's going to serve you well. Thanks.
Yeah. All right, thanks,
you
Bill.
guys did a good job. I like it. Happy to be here.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.